Vaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 14, verse number 15. So it's in a prose, I'll just read it. Kochid asadya griham davavat priyartha viduram asukho darkam shokagnina dahyamano brisham nirvedam upagachati. Word to word meanings. Kochid, sometimes. Asadya, experiencing. Griham, the home life. Davavat, exactly like a blazing fire in the forest. Priya Artha Viduram, without any beneficial object. Asuka Udarkam, resulting only in more and more unhappiness. Shoka Agnina, by the fire of lamentation. Dahyamanaha, being burned. Brisham, very great. Nirvedam, disappointment. Upagachati, he obtains. Translation purport by His Divine Grace C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation: in this world, family life is like a blazing fire in the forest. There is not the least happiness, and gradually one becomes more and more implicated in unhappiness. In household life, there is nothing favorable for perpetual happiness. Being implicated in home life, the conditioned soul is burned by the fire of lamentation. Sometimes he condemns himself as being very unfortunate, and sometimes he claims that he suffers because he performed no pious activities in his previous life. Purport: in the Guru Vastaka, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has sung Samsara Dava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karunya Ghana Ganatvam. A life in this material world is exactly like a blazing forest fire. No one goes to set fire to the forest, yet the fire takes place. Similarly, everyone wants to be happy in the material world, but the miserable conditions of material life simply increase. Sometimes a person caught in the blazing fire of material existence condemns himself, but due to his bodily conception, he cannot get out of the entanglement, and thus he suffers more and more. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guraho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dheena Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Vishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Welcome you all once again for this daily Bhagavatam class. And once again, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam for my own purification and the glorification of the Lord and for the service of all the devotees assembled here. So seeking all of your blessings and prayers so that I can do this service properly. So this particular chapter, if you see, even the previous chapter, so an allegorical story was given, how a person enters the forest for some enjoyment, but unfortunately he ends up in getting suffering again and again. Actually, there is no question of happiness. In different ways he may search, but there is no happiness at all. And especially in this particular verse, so Shukadeva Goswami is completely condemning the family life. It's very, very strong translation. This is the strong verse. Of course, this is speaking about Grihamedis, not about those Grahastas who are strictly following the rules of regulations of devotional life. But in summary, in a conclusion, this is what the thing is. If anyone enters material existence or family life, Grihamedi life, so he's sure shot to get into suffering. But all the time he's searching for happiness. But actually there is no happiness at all. And because of his search for happiness, he's doing various activities. And because of those activities, he's getting entangled again and again and again and suffering more and more. The final line of the purport says, sometimes a person caught in the blazing fire of material existence sometimes condemns himself. So sometimes people also get to know this, that I'm suffering so much. But due to his bodily conception, he cannot get out of this entanglement, even after realizing. So this bodily conception is so strong that he cannot get out of it. So let us discuss something more about the term called entanglement and how a person can come out of this suffering. So another meaning of entanglement is knot. Generally we discuss what is this knot all about. So in the first canto, so where Shaunakadi Rishis are asking various questions to Suta Goswami. So what is the best welfare thing for a general public in the age of Kali? So Suta Goswami describing that only the devotion service is the best thing for everything, for every person in general. So in that due course, there are few important slokas which will come up. So in that particular few verses, there is a 15th verse. Anyone remember? First canto, chapter 2, verse number 15. Very famous sloka. Yad anudyasina yukta karma grandi nibandanam chindanti kovidas tasya kona kuryat katharatim. So here very nicely Prabhupada describes what is this knot all about. What is this entanglement? And how one can get out of this entanglement. So the moment a living entity gets this material body, so he gets this knot. So what is that knot? Ahankar. That I am this body. So why one is put into this forgetfulness of the Lord in this material world? Because if a person wants to enjoy, if he is in full knowledge that Lord is the supreme enjoyer, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, that Lord is the supreme proprietor and is the actual enjoyer. If one has this knowledge, he cannot enjoy. So that's why we again, a person, conditioned soul, is given this forgetfulness of the Lord, so that he may think that he can enjoy. So when he comes, so why he comes? Ichha dvesha samuthena. So he has this enviousness towards the Lord. Why only Lord should enjoy? I also wants to enjoy, and he creates this dvesha against the Lord, enviousness. And he comes into this material world. And what is the result of coming into this material world? Dvandva mohena bharata. Dvandva, duality, happiness, distress, cold, hot, and illusion. So these are the results while he's coming in the material world. And this is the knot, identifying that I am this body. So because of this misidentification, so creates lot of troubles in the life. And this is what we see all over the world, especially in the area like Bengaluru, ACS layout, Maratali. So people are completely engaged in sense gratification. So we see many alcohol shops, intoxication, meat eating, breaking all the four regulative principles. And people are thinking this is what is the happiness is, the so-called civilization. And they're thinking that making a lot of progress. And what is that progress is all about? Progress in bodily conception of life. So that is a progress. And when a person wants to enjoy, he does some activity, and because of that activity there is a reaction. And he's doing unlimited activities, and because of these unlimited activities there are unlimited reactions. So this cycle is going on from time immemorial. And for each and every activity a person is performing, there is a reaction. So he's bound up in the cycle of action and reaction. And there is effect for this because of this. And one of the effect is that these actions, reactions, or even the desires that creates impression in the mind of a person. So whenever a person has a desire, so material nature will sanction that whatever he is desiring, Lord will sanction, and material nature will fulfill it. And he gets a body. He wants to enjoy some particular sense gratification, and according to that, he will get a body. Now the question is, how many desires we have? Unlimited desires. So unlimited impressions. So one has to take unlimited bodies. So Srila Prabhupada says, even if there is a single tinge of desire, one has to take up a body. And these impressions are like this. Suppose we know the camera, when we take a video or we take a photograph. So there is a limit, right? Puritru, what is the limit,
Very hard.
Depends on the card, SD card. So if it is full, what we will do? If the memory card is full, what we will do? We will delete some to get more, yes or no? But this mind which is there is no limit for this mind. So there can be unlimited impressions. So one has to take unlimited bodies. And of course, this is a mercy of the Lord. Since we are desiring, Lord is bestowing that particular body to take up and enjoy. And because of this, a person is bound up in this knot. And if you take any thread, and if you put so many knots, and it's a very, very tight. So if it is very tight, it's very difficult to also to remove. Since we are having taken many number of lives from time immemorial, so these impressions are also very strong. The desires to enjoy is also very, very strong. So we cannot slowly remove that knot with the hands. It's very difficult to remove. Then what is the solution? Cut it. Yes, the solution is to cut. So that's what this sloka says. Yad anudyasina yukta karma grandhi nibandhanat. Chindanti. Chindanti means kovidastasya. Chindanti means cut. To cut this so many knots are there. The only solution to remove this knot is to cut that. What is that cutting? Getting liberated from this reaction, the cycle of actions and reactions. So this is called liberation. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, so what is this liberation means? So liberation means Freedom from the cycle of reactionary work. Work. So there are three kinds of work. What are those? Karma, vikarma, and akarma. So any activity we do, so there is a reaction, but there is karma and vikarma. If a person does these two things, there is a reaction, but only when a person does akarma or devotional activities, there is no reaction for this. And someone may say now, so only if I do some activity there is a reaction, so I will not do any reaction, I'll just sit at one place, then there is no reaction, no? So how can deny this? I'm sitting at one place, I'm not doing any activity, so I cannot get any reaction. Sitting at one place, I'm just meditating, I'm not doing anything, nothing I'm doing, so there is practical, there is no action, so I cannot be bound up. Basically the question, I cannot create another cycle of action, I'm not doing any action, there is no reaction also. So how can we justify this?
Even sitting also like breathing,
Hmm.
that is also addiction. For that, like we are indebted to so many demigods.
Okay, so we're getting air from Vaidev, so we're indebted to Vaidev. Okay.
You still cause pain to others because sometimes you are not doing some action
Hmm.
and you have to do the action, but you are not doing it. So you're causing pain to others. So some
Okay.
pain comes in karma.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So I was hearing one class, there Prabhuji was mentioning. So even though we are sitting idle, we are breathing. Yes or no? So whenever we breathe, many organisms will die. And even whenever we step, many organisms will die. We are unable to see. And what to talk about eating while cooking? Many organisms are getting died. Yes or no? So we are implicated by that. We are committing sinful reaction then. So this material world is situated in such a way that any activity we do, it comes to the point of even breathing. We are bound up by the cycle of action and reaction. So this material world is Prabhupada's right? So the laws of material nature are so stringent, very stringent. We cannot get out of it. So we are bound even for small activities like even breathing. So this material world is very complicated. It is its nature to make a person bound. In this regard, we have an example of Manduka Muni and Yamaraj. So Manduka Muni, so in his childhood, maybe 7 years or 6 years old, so he took a needle grasshopper and piercing it through the back or the rectum of ants. And in the later point of time, this small boy become Manduka Rishi or Muni. So he was in his ashram. So he was staying in one kingdom. So from that king's place, so some thieves came and stole something. I don't know exactly. I'm just telling the sense. So those stole something, and the servants of king, they're going behind to catch these thieves. And these thieves somehow they came to the ashram of this Manduk Muni. They kept all those things where they have stolen in the Tushi's house, and they left. And the servants came coming behind. They found in this Manduk Muni's hut they all the stolen things which are there. And they finally concluded this Manduk Muni is the thief. And they thought to punish him. And they got this, gave them punishment called Sula Dandanam in Sanskrit it's called. So piercing the lance through the rectum of the person. So later the king got to know. So he is not the actual person. So how can I say this? So finally he left. That's okay. Then he was thinking, and the king is asking pardon also from the rishi. Sorry, there some mistake happened because of my mistake. And Mandukaman is telling, okay, it's okay, it's not your mistake. I know who is there. So then he went to Yamaraj and asked for this. So why I have been punished like this? Then Yamaraj told this story in the behind. So when you were a child, so you did this sinful activity. Then Mandukmani cursed him. So this is a small kid. When I was a small kid, I did this mischievous act. So you're punishing me so much. This is not right. Then he cursed Yamaraj to become Vidura in the next life. So from this we can understand how the laws are very very stringent. So for every activity there is action. No one can escape. No one can escape. And the people around, we are seeing every day, committing all the sinful activities and thinking they are free. Thinking they are free, but they are not free, completely bound up. Then how one can get out of this cycle of action and reaction? So by doing yoga. By doing yoga. What is yoga? Linking up with the Lord. And there are various yogas which are there. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes this karma yoga, jnana yoga, and also bhakti yoga. So karma yoga, so karma, they are performing some activity that is overcoated with the devotional service. So devotional service is always there in all the yoga systems. And this, when karma is performed along with the devotional service, it's called karma yoga. So similarly, when this empirical knowledge is overcoated with the devotional service, it's called jnana yoga. So when a person takes up this yoga process, starting from karma yoga, so finally he gets detached from the fruits of activities and he comes to the platform of jnana. That is, he'll understand the root of my bondage or the knot is this desire to enjoy. So by this karma yoga and jnana yoga, so one can get this liberation that is coming out of this material entanglement, material existence. One can get this liberation. But from purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, but pure bhakti yoga is independent of such karma and jnana. So we discussed that karma and jnana both are dependent on bhakti. So bhakti is completely independent of karma and jnana. So because it alone cannot only endow with liberation from conditioned life, but also award one the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Not only a person can get out of this material existence, but also he can get pure bhakti of love of Godhead. So that is a famous verse we see 1 to 6. Savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. Only when person does this pure devotional service unto the Lord, only then he can be completely satisfied. So let's take few inputs from all of us. So what is the definition of liberation? Mukti ritva haneta rupam swarupena vyasti. Yes, this is the definition of a devotees. But there are various practitioners of various yoga systems. So everyone has their own definition. For Buddhist, so what is the liberation definition? Nirvana, voidism. So just dismantle this body, everything is shunya. That is liberation for them. For Mayavadis or impersonalists, merging in the impersonal Brahmajyoti. That is the liberation for them. But as devotees, as you rightly mentioned, so the liberation for us is muktir hitva anyata rupam swarupena vyavasthiti. Anyata rupam, no rupam. Swarupena, what is this swarupa? Jivevereva swarupai krishnera nityadas. So engaging in the service of the Lord, understanding and realizing that I am a servant of the Lord and I ought to be engaged in the service of the Lord. And that is mukti for the devotees. And by the practice of this bhakti, what happens? One can achieve this pure love of Godhead. And when achieve this pure love, and this liberation just a byproduct. Just a byproduct. So that means the cycle of reaction and cycle of action and reaction, this karma granthi which is there, that will be cut by this devotion service. And what is this pure bhakti means? Working for the pleasure of the Lord. Working for the Lord. So what happens when one works for the Lord? Then there is no question of reaction or for that particular activity. For example, if an employee works, I'm just telling a different case. Nowadays it's not applicable, but taking this into consideration. So when there is an employee, he works for the company. So whenever there is loss in the company, so will the salary be affected of an employee? Ideally it shouldn't be, but these days there are less layoffs happening. Since company is not in the profit or in the loss, the employees are being eliminated from the company. But actually, ideally the thing is this: the employee is working for the company. So whatever is the loss or the profit, the employee shouldn't get any shouldn't get any difference in this salary, means in a reduction. So similarly, when we work for Krishna, so there is no effect of that particular activity on us. So Prabhupada famously gives this example of a soldier. So soldier is working for the country, yes or no? And country is giving, government is giving the gold medal for this soldier. So he's not bound up by his any activity. If the same thing is done by a normal citizen, killing other people, he is bound up by the activity. But since the soldier is working for the country, he is not bound up. So similarly, when a devotee does an activity for Krishna, so he will not create any further reactions. So he does not have to face any reactions. So how to do this devotion service? So Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavrutam anukune Krishna anushelalam bhaktir uttama. Anya Abhilashita. There is no question of any other material desire. The only desire is to serve the Lord. Anya Abhilashi Sunyam. No other desire. Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. No jnana, no contamination. Jnana Karma. And Anukulyena. Anukulyena means favorable desire. Favorable desire to serve the Lord. Favorable desire to please the Lord. So in this context, we generally discuss the example of Putana. So when Putana came to kill the Lord killed Putana. In that circumstance also, Lord enjoyed. Lord was pleased. But since this activity is pleasing to the Lord, can we tell that Putana is giving service to the Lord? No. So it cannot be considered as devotion service. So this favorable attitude to serve the Lord must be there. Anukulyena. This favorable desire to please the Lord is called anudhyasina. That is remembrance of the Lord. So any activity when we are doing, having this consciousness, thought process that I am doing this particular service or activity for the pleasure of the Lord. This is called remembrance. And when one has this remembrance, then that activity will cut this knot of cycle of reaction and action and reaction. Every activity for the pleasure of the Lord. So when you have this consciousness that I am doing this for the pleasure of the Lord, automatically a devotee will be alert. I am doing this for the Lord. So I am not doing this for any other person. So there is a lot of importance given for this remembrance, anudhyasina. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yuddhacha. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you fight. Not just fighting, but anusmarana. So remember me and then fight. In a chapter, another few more verses he says, 5th, 6th, he says, Anta kalech mameva smaran mukta kalevaram. Remember me. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. So what is this all remembrance about? So much Krishna is giving this reference of remembrance. So as soon as I'm thinking, I'm doing this for the pleasure of the Lord. This what is remembrance. And this remembrance, this anudhyasina will cut the knot of action and reaction. For example, let's take if you are cooking in the kitchen. You're cooking for our devotee friend or some devotee, I'm cooking for this. So what will be our mood at that time? To please the friend. So how will be our activity? Loving will be there. I am doing this for my friend. We'll be attentive. Yes. We'll be careful. I am doing this for him, my friend. So it should be very nice. Should be tasty. It should be nice. So much of attentiveness. Yes or no? When we do for our friend. But who is our best friend? Who is our best friend? Krishna. Krishna is our best friend. So when we are doing for our best friend, how should be our thought process? How should be our thought process? And how can we tell that Krishna is our best friend? Krishna is just boasting himself, I am the best friend. But how is he really a best friend? Any inputs? All of you know, we're just having a small conversation. How is Krishna is our best friend?
He is always with us.
Always with us? How?
Paramatma.
As Paramatma, yes, he is always with us. And what is he doing?
He sees our
Yes, all those desires is sanctioning us. Even though that may be sinful also, but still he's sanctioning. Mm. Even though if you're aspiring for pure devotion, so that is also election. Yes, this is one activity. So Krishna is always with us. So no one in this world will be with us for sure. Krishna is always with us. So he is our best friend. So for this best friend, how should I do the service? How can I do this service? So I want to do this for to please the Lord. And this, as I already mentioned, this remembrance that I am doing for the pleasure of the Lord. This is what cuts the knot. And to the degree I remember, to that degree that knot is cut. And whenever there is this remembrance, automatically there is quality. In this regard, we have a nice example from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's about Raghav Pandit. So Raghav Pandit, he gets best of the best coconuts for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to please the Lord. So once what happened, Raghav Pandit sent his servant to get the coconut, and he got the coconut. So in one hand he has this coconut, in the other hand he touched on the wall, and then he touched the coconut also. Then Raghav Pandit was very angry at this. What you're doing this? What am I doing? Nothing. And you touch the wall and you're touching the coconut, so much of dust will be there. Throw this and go and bring once again. So even though Raghav Pandit has his own form, coconuts, everything is there. But still he wants to get the best of the best coconuts for the Lord. So he goes for the miles together, far away, and gets the best coconut for the Lord. And every year, Raghav Pandit and his good wife, so they both of them prepare hundreds of preparations for Mahaprabhu. That I want to prepare for the Lord. So always in this consciousness, what Mahaprabhu likes, what Mahaprabhu likes, and in that consciousness they prepare this all the wonderful items. And when they send these food items to the Lord, to Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu will tell, please keep all these all the items, the prasadam, in a big room, not just a small dub also. In a big room, so many items, hundreds of items. And Mahaprabhu the whole year he tastes the items of the food prepared by Raghav Pandit, because it is prepared with the love. It is prepared with the Lord, love, and the Lord tastes it. So that is what Krishna is telling in 9th chapter 26th verse. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayatachi tadaham asnami prayatatmanah. So Krishna is telling, if one offers this patram pushpam phalam toyam, food, fruit, leaf, water, whatever it is, even if it is offering this, what if it is offered with the devotion, I will accept it. So I was hearing a Prabhupada lecture. So Prabhupada was telling. So Krishna is telling personally that he will honor whatever I'm giving. And the other person, the artist who is telling, no, how can a deity can take food? He cannot take. And Prabhupada is mentioning this. See, my Krishna is telling that he will take whatever bhoga I'm offering. So should I believe in Krishna, or should I be in loafer like you? Directly, it's very strong. So Krishna accepts. So whatever we are doing, offering to him. But it should be with love and devotion. And how can we cultivate this? Offering with love. That is, for the pleasure of the Lord, I am doing this particular activity. Any seva we are doing. So starting from the morning program, that I'm coming in front of the Lord, attending Mangalarti. So why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? For the pleasure of the Lord. So when that activity is, that consciousness is not there, I'm not doing for the pleasure of the Lord. My superiors told, so I have to do. So I'm doing some cooking. Sorry, I have to do. I'm pressurizing like anything. So there is no consciousness of that I'm doing pleasure of the Lord or the devotees. So when there is no thought process of this, so automatically we'll feel it as a burden. Galagraha, we feel it as burden. And there is no nourishment also for us. We may be doing the same devotional service only, but because of this lack of consciousness that I am doing for the service of the Lord, there is no nourishment in the heart. There is no nourishment. But the thing is, how to cultivate this? Basically, how to get this mood that I am doing for the pleasure of the Lord. It's a matter of cultivation or practice. Arjuna says to Arjuna, Krishna, to control this mind is very, very difficult. Controlling wind is very easy. Chanchalam bhi mana Krishna balati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayureva sudushkaram. So controlling this mind is very, very difficult. Easier than this is to control the wind. Can any of us control the wind? No, it's not possible. And mind is even more difficult. Then Krishna is giving the solution. Abhyasa, practice. Practice to control the mind. So similarly, to have this attitude, I'm doing this particular service for the pleasure of the Lord, is a matter of cultivation. It's a matter of practice. And in this particular purpose, 8th chapter, verse number 5, 6, 7, 8. So Srila Prabhupada tells number of times, and this practice should be for the whole life. So why we are practicing? To please the Lord. Oh Lord, I cannot remember you, but I'm trying my best. I'm practicing to remember you, to do this particular service for your pleasure. So when we do this practice, what happens? Krishna will be pleased looking at our struggle, looking at our practice. And when Krishna is pleased with our practice of rendering pure devotion service, at the end of life, Krishna will come personally, looking at our endeavor, looking at our practice. See, this devotee is practicing so much to remember me while doing any service. So when Krishna is pleased at our remembrance, so Krishna is personally comes, even though at the time of death, we know the condition of a person at the time of death, whoever it is. So it's compared like biting of 40,000 scorpions. So that is the pain. Of course, this is not the pain of material body, it's a subtle body, mind. That I'm coming out of this body, that is the pain. So when a person is staying in a flat and the owner comes and drags him away from the particular home, how much pain he feels. So 1,000 times more the pain a spirit soul feels when he's being taken away from this body to which is very much attached. But if the whole life we are practicing to do devotion service for the pleasure of the Lord and the devotees, so what happens? Krishna is looking at this. Krishna looking at our struggle. And when Krishna is pleased at our whole life struggle, then Krishna personally gives his remembers at the point of death. And when we remember, because of Krishna's blessings, when we remember the Lord at that moment, so what happens? This cycle of knot which is there, that is cut into pieces. And we can get the actual liberation. What is the liberation? Muktir hitvanyata rupan swarupena vyavasthiti. That will be established in our constitutional position that I am servant of the Lord and will be taken back to the spiritual world. So that is why in Srila Prabhupada says, right, there is the ISKCON. What is the full form of ISKCON? International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Outside people are also doing activity, inside devotees are also doing the activity. So what is the difference? The consciousness. The consciousness that I am doing this particular activity for the pleasure of the Lord. So that is the difference. So for in every activity when we do for the pleasure of the Lord, this is called remembrance, smaran. And when this smaran is there, that will cut the knot of the cycle of reaction and action and reaction. And that is how we can get out of this blazing fire of forest of material existence. This is how we can come out of this bodily conception of life. Okay. So with this, I would like to conclude today's discussion. If there are any questions, we can take any comments, any corrections which I have to do. Hare Krishna.
Since you made this point, that if you remember the Lord at the time of death, then we get situated as servant and then we go back. So how that should be, how that happens.
So in the purport Prabhupada writes, so it's basically, so means when you went to washroom, they're discussing that. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that we have to practice. This is a practice of whole life. So you should keep on practicing this absorption that I'm doing this for the pleasure of the Lord. So I keep on practicing. So Krishna is looking at our practice that I'm doing for the pleasure of the Lord. And when Krishna is pleased, even though at the time of death, it's so troublesome. At the time of death, it's very difficult situation that is. So if Krishna is pleased, then Krishna will give his remembrance. Then he'll take us back. Means Krishna is taking the charge of us if we are sincere in our devotion service. So that is what.
Thank you for this wonderful. So, Prabhu, you made one point that if there will be any tinge of material desire when it take birth in this life. So, let's say like now onwards, like we'll not think of material, but already we have some material desire. So, how those desires, like Krishna will fulfill in this lifetime only, or what will happen?
Anything can happen. So one thing is if you are sincere, so I'm just giving my understanding. So all the samskaras we have. So when we practice devotion service, what happens? Krishna removes all the samskaras which are there in the mind. So in the level 2 we have this topic, right? Karma in depth. So there we discuss one sloka. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukam krame neva praliyeta Vishnur bhakti ratatmanat. So this sloka says, so we have these four things. Aprarabdha, prarabdha. So this means those activity reactions which are yet to be manifesting and which are going on now. And the other thing which you're asking, the desires or samskaras which are there. Kutam and bijam, the tendencies or the samskaras which are there in the mind. So because of this we are struggling now. Even though we gave up right now, but still are there. So when we do devotion service, krameneva priliyeta. So gradually Krishna will take away all the stuffs. So we also give this example like I think Parikshit Maharaj gives to Shukdev Goswami gives to Parikshit Maharaj. So this atonement which is there. So when a person takes up this process of atonement, means basically whatever reaction past sinful activities has done is following this atonement and getting rid of it. But what about this? The desire which is there, the same question. So then Shukdev Goswami says the only solution is devotion service. So these desires which are there are like a seeds now. So when we practice devotion service, so these desires of seeds, what happens now when we put on the pan and we burn them, what happens? It will be dried up. These seeds. Then these seeds will not grow. So when we continue practicing devotional service, what happens? That samskaras which are there, or the desires which are there, activity were stopped, okay. But still, if at all there are some tinges of desire which are there, so those also will be burnt off. Means basically it will be taken away. The only thing is from our side, we have to continue sincerely practicing devotional service, and rest Krishna will take care. In another way, we will always discuss this having this intense desire to attain Krishna. Laulyam. So when we have this laulyam, so all the other material desires which are there, they will be slowly and gradually will be eradicated. So since we are practicing devotional service, you experience yourself from past couple of years of practice very nicely. Yourself can experience this, right? So some activities which you have done in the past, now we are getting so much of taste in that. That's why full day we are engaging in devotional service. Is able to understand? So answer is continue our devotional service and Krishna will do the rest. So we can offer this prayer also. Oh Krishna, whatever nonsense I have done, please forgive me. Even if I desire, previously I have desires, I am not desiring now. Please remove all those desires. When we sincerely pray, so Krishna will do the rest. So that is the thing. And also depends on devotee to devotee. So what's the attitude of a devotee? Then Krishna acts particular to that particular devotee in a way which he likes. So that's my understanding. Prabhuji, would you like to add something?
That's good. Krishna is a person, and we have to pray that I have desired a lot of things. Now please, sanction those desires. That's it. Hare Krishna, bro. Thank you for nicely explaining this verse. Verse was 1 to 15. 1 to 15. This point is nice that to the degree I remember the Lord, to that degree the knot is cut. So, this remembrance, and you highlighted a point that remembrance means we need to have this mood that, yes, I want to please Krishna, so I'm doing this activity. So, this is a nice point to contemplate on that to what degree am I remembering Krishna as of now? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, bro. Thank you for the nice class. So, as you mentioned that while doing any activity, we are naturally, if we are doing it for someone who we care for, then we are naturally careful, attentive, and also we remember that what will please the person. So, similarly, our best friend is the Supreme Lord. So, we have to be careful and attentive when we are rendering devotional service. And devotional service becomes a burden when not done properly. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for this nice class. So in starting, you were speaking about how this entanglement is not is equal to not, which is the false ego of the jiva, that I am this body, and because this false ego is becoming more and more bound in this material world and not able to come out. So and we have unlimited and strong knots. So one has to cut these knots, and the cutting is the remembrance of the Lord. So one should remember, and whatever activity he's doing, he should remember that I am doing for the pleasure of Krishna. If that thing is there, then and like what degree one is remembering the Lord, that degree the knot will cut. And we have to practice this, how to remember the Lord throughout the life. Then only at the end of life, Krishna will come and he'll give like his remembrance. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. You mentioned many stuff, but one thing which struck a chord is that uh, what is the difference between your doing and the other people's doing? It's the consciousness. And every day, I also felt that, but coming up every day in the morning, it's a little tiring. I thought, what is the difference between me and them? So, Prabhuji mentioned a very good point that consciousness is the difference, because so that is a very important point. Without that, any devotional service becomes a burden. I too also felt that coming in the morning becomes a burden, because at home I used to sleep very nicely, and here 9 o'clock I used to get up, and I used to code, then again take breaks. So yes, that's a very good point. Struck me too. So how you have to perform a devotional service is the consciousness. It is very good point. Thank you, Prabhuji. That is a good point.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the nice class, bro. You told nice points. Because of envy to Krishna, we came to this material world and we are stuck up here. And this hard knot is very difficult to remove. But the solution is to cut it. So, by and our best friend is Krishna, and we should serve him nicely. And how much we are serving, that much Krishna will reveal to us. So any seva we are doing for the pleasure of the Lord, and if we are doing without consciousness, so we will not get pleasure in our own heart only. So to get that, you get the nice solution. To practice by doing seva repeatedly, so we'll get some inclination to the seva.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a very nice class. So the more impressions we have in the mind, so many bodies we have to take. And also you mentioned this point that even if you don't do anything, if you are in this material world, it's a problem. Breathing is a problem, eating is a problem. And also you mentioned that Lord is our best friend, like because he is always with us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Um,
everyone is bounded with karma, even if you are sitting peacefully. I like that point. I first time I listened this. And um, when when we work for Krishna, so we will not have to face any reaction. We must do every activity for the pleasure of God. This is called remembrance. This will cut the knot of action and reaction. uh, Krishna accepts bhog offered by love and devotion. Practice is the key for controlling the mind, Krishna says. Mm, Krishna will be pleased seeing struggle of devotee. What struggle did devotee do for Krishna? Uh, Desires can be destroyed by devotional service only. That's my point.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for nice class. You gave a wonderful example how Krishna is our best friend. Like he is always with us as Paramatma. So it's our responsibility to please Krishna in the best way. Just like when our best friend came, or we try to please our best friend in a very attentive, focused manner. So similarly, we should please Krishna. You gave nice example of Raghav Pandit, how Raghav Pandit choosing the best coconuts for Krishna. So also in every year, like Raghav Pandit with his wife prepared variety of food stuff for the pleasure of Lord. So thank you, Guruji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.